Gina, I recently left a relationship that wasn't right for me, but now everyone keeps telling me I should have fought harder because relationships take work. How do you know when you're giving up too soon versus finally choosing yourself? Gina, my mom says, well, that's just how your dad is every time he says something hurtful to me. At what point do you stop excusing someone's behavior just because they're family? Gina, I've spent years being the dependable friend. Now that I'm saying no more often, people are starting to tell me that I've changed. Hi everyone, I'm Gina Zapanta, a lawyer, entrepreneur, and founder of Empowered with Gina. At Empowered with Gina, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about lifestyle. We talk about building confidence. We talk about going against the expectations, culture, society, family, the pressures, all of that has been placed upon us. We talk about how we can face that and choose an aligned and empowered life. Join me. Okay, so I'm answering your questions, and I got one that I thought was interesting and I wanted to share it with you. Gina, I'm 33, single, and I'm genuinely happy. My family acts like I'm running out of time and constantly asks when I'm going to settle down. How do you stop letting other people's timeline become your own? Well, girl, some of us didn't do that. Some of us make decisions based on other people's timeline because the clock is running out. Anyone feel that? Anyone feel that pressure? And this goes not only to maybe the single women who don't have children yet, or married people who don't have children yet, whatever that pressure is, this goes beyond that. That goes to someone who, aren't you going to retire yet? Aren't you going to change that job yet? These pressures, it all comes down to what we believe are pressures that have the power to dictate our life. And so to that, I would answer, you give power to the pressures by believing in them. We're never going to change how people talk to us. We have no control over anyone else. And that stings sometimes. To get past that is to realize I only have control over myself. I only have control over how I choose to interpret what this pressure is. I know that people in my family love me and they mean well. They just want XYZ for me, but that's not what I want. And me not following through and meeting their expectations doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me less worthy of love. It certainly does not mean that you are behind, because that's also the pressure. Because then you'll say, well, yeah, I don't want to live for my family per se, but my biological clock is ticking. Girl, no, stop. We are in 2026. Almost 2027. The medical advances available to us, the education and knowledge we have now, there are resources available to us. You have the most powerful thing in your hand available to you. Speaking specifically about biological pressures, start looking into things. This is where you empower. This is where you educate yourself. This is where you put yourself in a power position versus powerless, victim, being told what to do. Hurry up, you're not fast enough. So it's really about seeing it for what it is, grabbing it and saying, I'm not going to give you power. I understand why they're saying that, but I'm going to stay true to what I believe. I will get all the education and resource and information that I need to make my decision, and then I'll make it. It's easier said than done, but absolutely possible. Another question, Gina, I got a promotion at work, and instead of celebrating me, one of my closest friends started making passive-aggressive comments. How do you know if someone is jealous or if you're just overthinking it and maybe you are showing off? We've talked about this before. How many times has something great happened to you, big or small, and you've wanted to share it because you're proud of yourself? You know it's an accomplishment. Again, big or small, it doesn't matter. But you stop yourself from sharing it with certain people because you don't want to make them feel bad. You don't want to trigger them. You don't want to, I know, but I don't want to outshine them, because when I say it, they think I'm showing off. And sometimes their responses are, oh, look at you showing off. Wow, aren't you proud of yourself? You went to college. Aren't you special? That kind of bullshit. Understanding that it is just that. It's bullshit. And it really is a reflection more about them and less, again, about you. It has nothing to do with you. You, in sharing your wins, which I absolutely 100% think you should do at all times, always. You sharing those wins is like holding up a mirror reflecting to that person their insecurities. Because somebody who's doing better than you is certainly not going to talk down to you. Somebody who is truly about empowerment and being there for you and supporting and really wanting what's best for you is going to be receptive, is going to be supportive, however they can be, right? So the second you get some negative feedback or a vibe, that vibe, you feel it, Listen to that because that's real and that's true. And they're communicating and channeling something to you that they aren't happy for you. They are jealous. And again, it has nothing to do with you. It is more a reflection of their insecurity that triggers them. And that's something for them to figure out if they do or if they don't. But that should not ever, ever anymore make you tell yourself to be smaller, to make yourself less seen. We're done with that. We are done with that. We've done that long enough. We're not doing it anymore. And I'm here to tell you, you have permission. And in fact, the sooner and the more often you share your wins, big or small, the sooner you're going to realize who needs to get filtered out of your life because they are not aligned with an empowerment growth mindset. And it's absolutely okay to do that. That's part of growth. Gina, my mom says, well, that's just how your dad is every time he says something hurtful to me. At what point do you stop excusing someone's behavior just because they're family? And family can be the most hurtful. It's not the friends. It's not the frenemies. It's not your job. It's the freaking family. I know. Why are they the most hurtful? Well, this goes back to our programming and society and culture. We were all told blood is thicker than water, which, yes, I know that whole phrase is said wrong and used wrong, but I'm using it as a reference point because you know what I mean. You do it for the family. You're a sister, you're a family member, you tolerate it. That's just how they are. We were all taught to tolerate it. And if we go against it, then we're ungrateful. Then we are not worthy of love. Then something's wrong with us. We're the black sheep of the family, something like that. So we were all taught that. And so us tolerating offensive ass behavior that we do not want in our life, it does this weird thing where we feel like we're in the wrong for not wanting to experience that anymore. From anyone, let alone your family. The question is, when do I know you should stop excusing someone's behavior? You're asking me the question. If you're asking yourself that question, or if it feels wrong, that's your answer. Your intuition does not lie. If somebody says something to you and it triggers you in a way that you feel bad, you feel negative, you don't feel good, you don't feel supported, listen to that. Listen to that because that is your barometer. That is your meter in your nervous system of what works for you, what you want to tolerate in that moment. And it can feel different at different times. That's okay. But in that moment, you listen to that and you know the people who are repeat offenders in your life who are toxic for you. And they are only repeat offenders in your life because you allow it. Ooh, I'm not blaming them, am I? No, they're getting away with what you allow because you have a lack of boundaries. So when you decide you don't want any more of that behavior, you draw the boundary and you stick to it. That's the only way it's going to stop. Having a conversation with someone, sure, let them know, look, I'm highly offended or I don't like this type of behavior or comments from you. Then they repeat it again. Girl, that writing is on the wall. You know what to do. Boundaries hurt, but boundaries are necessary. They don't hurt all the time, but they can hurt, especially in this situation, especially around family. It does not make it wrong. You must protect yourself, have very strong boundaries, and follow through with it. You're worth it. Gina, I've spent years being the dependable friend. Now that I'm saying no more often, people are starting to tell me that I've changed. Is this normal? Girl, I went through the same thing. When I went through my empowerment, when I was not serving everyone else first, when I stopped running around like a chicken without a head to put everyone else at ease besides me, and when I started saying no, when I started saying yes to things that people were surprised I was saying yes to, when I decided to walk away and divorce, when I decided to leave a job and start a business, like these are major things. They were for me, at least. People were like, you've changed. Oh, well, yeah, I've changed because I now have boundaries and I'm no longer letting you trample all over me. It was on me that allowed that. I allowed that. I allowed people to take advantage of me. It didn't show my character or how worthy and dependable I was. What it was really showing was that I had a lack of boundaries. I had a lack of self-respect. I had a lack of self-worth or an understanding of my self-worth. And not until I went through my empowerment journey, not until I really took a hard look in the mirror at myself and like, damn, I really am very much living for what everyone wants. I got married to this person for that reason. I moved into this house. I had this career. I have this group of friends because I should be appreciative of people I've had in my life forever. The shoulds, all of that stuff. When I started having those very difficult conversations with myself, that's when I realized and started creating my boundaries. You can continue to think that, fine, something's wrong with you because you're not there for them anymore. Or you can interpret it for what it is, which is you actually have realized boundaries that work for you. And People do not like boundaries, especially if they've had full unfettered access to you, your time, your energy. And so naturally, just like a child, they're going to throw a tantrum. Oh, you've changed. Oh, because you have these new friends now, you think you're better than. Mm-mm. See it for what it is. They're throwing a tantrum. They're thrashing around. Do you feed into a child's tantrum, or do you just let it exhaust? And then sometimes you take that child to put them for a nap, or you walk away from that friendship. So you see what I'm saying? So it really does come down to you understanding it for what it is, understanding your new boundaries are going to piss some people off. That doesn't make it wrong. Keep those boundaries strong as long as they self-serve you first. Gina, I recently left a relationship that wasn't right for me, but now everyone keeps telling me I should have fought harder because relationships take work. How do you know when you're giving up too soon versus finally choosing yourself? Oh, this is so good. And this can be a relationship, whether it's family, friendship, work relationship. And yes, absolutely, relationships of any kind, including parent-child. It takes a lot of work, and it takes both sides to do the work. So I would say that's the first thing. If both people involved in this relationship are meeting each other in the middle for the most part and both showing up intentionally wanting the relationship to work, that's one indication that, yeah, you should give it some chance, especially if you want it. Again, let me back up. Let's assume you don't want the relationship and you're looking for any out. Honey, head for the freaking hills. Get out of there as fast as possible. It'll hurt. It'll feel lonely. People will talk about you. But if you know this isn't for me, there's something more. I don't want to be in this relationship, this work situation, this friendship. My parents are fucking assholes. I don't want to deal with them anymore. Whatever it is for you, fucking run. Run. I've given you permission. Nothing's wrong with you. However, if you're like, no, I do want this relationship to work, then there are a few things you need to consider to make sure you're just not blindly being hopelessly romantic, assuming it's a romantic situation, and being the only person showing up in this relationship. Number one, both parties are showing up and meeting at least halfway. Discussions, communication. We all talk about it. We all don't know how to do it though. And we learn communication, right? Are we effectively communicating what we want? Or the second I say something, the person flies off the handle, or I fly off the handle, and no communication happens. We become reactive to each other, end a discussion, and we fall back into that cycle. So be intentional and mindful about meeting in the middle, and are you truly communicating? And then third, relationships aren't going to be roses and butterflies all the time. That's actually what a relationship is, the ups and downs. If you have strong boundaries, though, the ups and downs should stay within those boundaries. So the ups and downs should be within the boundaries. You have no boundaries and no limits, this is what's going to look like. It's going to be a fucking mess. So it comes back to us. It comes back to understanding what works for me, what aligns for me. What kind of relationship do I want? What kind of work, what kind of friendship, what kind of parent relationship do I want? And then you start from that point and work from there.